Imagine landing in a foreign country for the first time, where nothing makes sense, you're broke, and the only thing keeping you sane is the promise of something or someone extraordinary waiting for you. That's how my journey to America started. But what I didn't know was that the most unexpected twist of my life was about to unfold. It all began when Zubby Michael, my cousin and best friend, convinced me to leave the comforts of Nigeria for an adventure in America. I hesitated at first. After all, I'd never set foot outside of Lagos. But Zubby Michael, with his reckless charm, always knew how to get me to say yes. I swear, Ebuka, this will change your life. Zubby Michael had said, and for reasons I still don't fully understand, I agreed. But from the moment we landed at JFK Airport, things spiraled out of control. Our luggage went missing. Bro, maybe your bag decided to stay back in Lagos, Zubby Michael joked, trying to lighten the mood, but I wasn't laughing. We spent hours arguing with the airport staff, only to leave empty-handed. Then came the ride to our hotel, our first taste of America's infamous yellow taxis. Or, should I say, rideshare apps. Zubby Michael insisted we try the app, even though neither of us knew how to use it. After struggling to figure it out, we finally got picked up by Vinny, a fast-talking, gum-chewing New Yorker who drove like he was in a race. You boys from Africa, huh? Well, welcome to New York, Vinny said, flashing a grin in the rearview mirror. Betcha never seen a place like this. The city was past us, a blur of skyscrapers, honking cars, and flashing lights. Zubby Michael was enthralled, his face glued to the window, while I just wanted to get to the hotel and collapse. But little did I know, the real adventure was just beginning. The hotel room. Let's just say it wasn't what I expected. Zubby Michael, in his infinite wisdom, had booked a room with a single bed. A single bed. I glared at him, but all he did was shrug. Ebuka, my guy, it's part of the experience. Adventure. Adventure, my foot. That night, I slept on the floor, using a towel for a blanket while Zubby Michael snored loudly on the bed. But I hadn't even scratched the surface of what was to come. We stayed at the hotel for a few days, but soon, we realized our wallets were screaming for help. New York City was draining us fast. Zubby Michael, ever the problem solver, found a listing for a room in Brooklyn. This is it, Ebuka, Zubby Michael said, showing me the rental on his phone. This place will change everything. I rolled my eyes, thinking about all the ways this could go wrong. But then again, what choice did we have? We had to move, or we'd be sleeping on the streets next. The thing was, something about this house was going to change my life in ways I couldn't even imagine. When we arrived at the brownstone house in Brooklyn, I wasn't expecting much. I was tired, grumpy, and just wanted to get inside. But when the door opened, I froze. Standing there was the most beautiful girl I had ever seen. Her name was Emily, and she was the landlord's daughter. In that split second, everything else disappeared, the stress, the exhaustion, the frustration. All that mattered was that I had to get to know this girl. Zubby Michael, always quick with his words, blurted out, "Is this heaven or am I dreaming?" She laughed, and that was it for me. I was done for. We moved into the house, and from that moment on, my life took a new direction. I couldn't stop thinking about Emily. She was smart, funny, and beautiful, and I knew I was in deep trouble. But every time I tried to talk to her, my nerves got the better of me. Zubby Michael, ever the comedian, couldn't help but tease me about it. "So, when are you going to stop drooling and ask her out?" he said, grinning. I wanted to punch him, but deep down, I knew he was right. I had to make a move. But how? Every time Emily passed by, my mind went blank. Weeks went by, and I still hadn't mustered the courage to ask her out. I was living in fear of embarrassing myself until one evening, out of nowhere, Emily asked if we wanted to join her and her family for dinner. I couldn't say no to that. This was my chance to make an impression, but what I didn't know was that this dinner would turn into something unexpected. As we sat at the dinner table, Zubby Michael was in his element, cracking jokes left and right, while I tried to keep it together. But then, out of nowhere, her father dropped the bomb. "So, boys, I hear you've been spending a lot of time with my daughter." He looked directly at me. What exactly are your intentions? I froze. This was the kind of confrontation I had been dreading. Zubby Michael, who usually had a comeback for everything, was suddenly silent. It was all on me now. I stumbled over my words, trying to explain that we were just friends, but I could tell he wasn't convinced. He leaned in closer, narrowing his eyes. Let me be clear, he said. I don't have a problem with you staying here, but if you hurt my daughter, well, let's just say you'll regret it. I gulped, nodding like my life depended on it. He finally stood up, leaving me and Zubby Michael in stunned silence. The tension was thick in the room, and all I could think about was how close I had come to losing my chance with Emily. Days turned into weeks, and despite her father's warning, Emily and I grew closer. Zubby Michael, being the supportive but annoying cousin he was, kept pushing me to take the next step. One evening, while we were walking through the streets of Brooklyn, Emily turned to me and said, "You know, Ebuka, I've never met anyone like you before." My heart raced. Was this it? Was she finally giving me the green light? But just as I was about to respond, a car screeched to a stop next to us. Out stepped her father. "What are you two doing here?" That night, I knew I had to act. I couldn't wait any longer. The next day, I went out and bought a ring. I was going to propose to Emily, no matter what anyone said. Zubby Michael, of course, had to make it all about him. "Bro, if you started during the proposal, I'm going to film it and send it to everyone back home." "Shut up, Zubby Michael." But he was right, I couldn't mess this up. The day finally came. I took Emily to the spot where we had our first walk together, and with my heart racing, I got down on one knee. "Emily," I began, my voice shaking. "Will you marry me?" She looked at me, tears in her eyes, and said the words that changed everything, "Yes." Now, we are planning our wedding, and we've decided to go back to Nigeria for the ceremony. But this isn't the end of the story. In fact, it's just the beginning. Because what happens when we return to Nigeria will surprise you in ways you can't even imagine.